Hello and welcome to the Undercovers cast. I'm Ben along with Paul, and we have Tommy back. And it feels like ages since we've had you on the show,
I know.
Tommy.
Yeah.
Since that Tampa game, but it's kind of been rough waters for the Bills
Yeah.
lately. But maybe since you're back, we'll get back to our scheduled program. Bills just rolling,
Start rolling.
but starting off. The Bills pick up their first win of the Joe Brady era. Big win over the Jets, 32-6. And I think most of us, just going into that game, would have just liked to see a mostly turnover-free game. And I know Josh had that one interception, but
Oh,
I mean, it came right before half on a Hail Mary. I mean, I'm good with that. Like, I know it counts against his stats, but he had 3
Mhm.
touchdowns. I mean, we honestly may have been able to score more if we were a little more aggressive early on, maybe committed more to the run on that opening drive. But it just kind of seemed like Brady was just kind of starting to fill it out a little bit to begin with. But hopefully, as things get going, we face some tougher teams now. He'll start to feel it out and clean that up. But I mean,
yeah.
the Jets have one of the best defenses in the league, and this was probably one of the best offensive performances against that defense. So in his
Yep.
first game, you got to give major props to Joe Brady. And how about Khalil Shakir?
Whew.
His first ever 100-yard game. And I know we were clamoring for him a lot, and we finally have seen him in an extended role. And I mean, is it safe to say that he may have surpassed Gabe Davis in this receiver room?
100%, Ben, like he balled out yesterday, man. Like that catch and run after, I'm like, wow, man, this guy's fast. He's electric. I mean, just get him the ball. You know what I'm saying? I say just get him the ball more.
Certainly, I think Khalil, however you say his first name, sorry, Shakir. I
Khalil,
cannot
yeah.
see your first name right now, but hopefully in the future I can get that down. But I think Shakir definitely showed out, and in the reason why he deserves snaps. Obviously, the last year we were talking about Shakir, and it was like, well, his practice wasn't really good, and that's why he wasn't seeing the field. But every time he saw the field, he was one of the most explosive players on the field,
Right.
and he's definitely, with the time that he's getting at this time, he's showing the reason why he deserves more playing time and why we should maybe scheme a little bit around him. Overall last game for the Bills was back to the basics, basically. It was back to the drawing board with this offense. It was like, take out the old and bring in the new and put a new energy to this Bills offense. Even though it didn't seem full on Joe Brady last night, there was some Dorsey-esque in that play calling that I've seen last night, but it worked. He worked with what he was able to work with. I didn't see a lot of Josh under center last night. Kind of frustrated about that. Limited play action, kind of frustrated with that aspect of Joe Brady's play calling, but I loved the usage of using people up the middle. I mean, 8 passes. There was 11 in week 11 against the Jets. There was 11 plays up the middle against the Jets this week. Week 2, there was only 2 plays that were schemed up the middle for the Bills offense, and I loved every second of that, and I loved using James Cook and Ty Johnson in the pass game. Just explosive.
Yeah. I mean, I think they found a gem in Ty Johnson.
I know Ty Johnson has some serious afterburners.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some.
Who would have thought?
I would have thought that either. I think he was motivated too after getting cut by the Jets. So he's like, I want to ball out in front of my old team. So, but I mean, he does have some jets, man. Like that dude can run.
Yeah, no pun
like
intended. He does have some
both of
jets.
those
Yeah,
touchdowns
he's got
were
some.
basically the same play. Like the Cook touchdown and the Ty Johnson touchdown were basically similar plays, but
Yeah.
they were just drawn up slightly different, and they
Yep.
both worked both times. And I think the Bills have found a new secret weapon in Ty Johnson and a
Hmm.
new secret play caller in Joe Brady, and just hopefully it transpires into the next game.
100%.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I know that one play was called back. I think they
Yeah.
call illegal shift on something, but like, I
Yeah.
mean, Ty Johnson even has some power. Like, he basically ran through the whole D line on another run. I mean, speaking of run and committing to the runs, um, this was, I mean, you can stat check me, but I'm pretty sure this was by far James Cook's most touches he's ever gotten in a game. He had 17 rushes, I think, before that. Like the most was 11. So I mean, talking about committing to a run and the balance.
Yep.
Um, I mean, the Bills ran the ball 38 times. Now, 2 of those were Kyle Allen Neal. So
Yeah.
technically, 36 to
36.
32 passes, but it was about, an even split and maybe, call, a couple of those Josh scrambles, just non-design quarterback runs. I think there were a couple. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got about a 50-50 pass run split. And I mean, I think going forward, you probably can maybe even increase the passing, but if this is the offense we get under Joe Brady, I will sign up for it.
Me too.
Gabe Davis again missing in action.
Oh,
He had he has 2 catches the last 3 games combined. Um, I mean, I don't know how you can re-sign him unless, it's like a 1-year prove it deal again. But I
Yeah.
think you still have to add another receiver to the room. I mean, I'm fine with Shakir being the number 3 receiver moving forward, even next year. I just think maybe, that 3-4 position needs to be improved. But on the flip side, how about Rasul Douglas, another big time pickup by Brandon
100%.
Bean?
Yeah.
2 interceptions. He recovered a fumble. Should have had a touchdown, in my opinion, or Micah Hyde should have had the touchdown on the pitchback. But I guess technically, Garrett Wilson's ankle was touching his elbow or something stupid, before he fell down. So technically, it counts as a tackle. But
Yeah.
I mean, Leonard Floyd already has 9.5 sacks through 11 games. I mean, it seems like he's gonna probably get close to 15, and we've never had a double-digit sack guy under McDermott. I
Yep.
mean,
Got to get it.
Ed Oliver all over the field
Yeah.
again yesterday. And how about T Dot? Like I'm gonna give a shout out to T Dot because we were all,
Yeah.
on T Dot's case and calling for him to
Yeah.
be cut. But I mean, he was
Yeah.
good in the run game. He had that punch out on Garrett Wilson's fumble. Like, I mean, T Dot was balling out yesterday.
Hmm. Yeah, he was. Like, I mean, like I said, there were just so many players that just stood out in this game. It's just like, I mean, this was the most points the Jets had given up in a game all year, and this was like the first touchdown to a receiver since week 1. It was Stephon Diggs that got a touchdown week 1. So, like, I mean, there was a lot of improvements.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
this offense could go on the right track going forward. Going up against teams like Philly and Kansas City coming up.
Kind of like just this game just reminds me of like the last few weeks when I was talking about the Bills defense driving the energy for the Bills offense. I mean, the Bills forced what 3 turnovers last night. They were
Yep.
all over
Technically
the
4.
quarterback.
The defense forced 3. Special teams had 1, so
Yeah, so
4.
there was four
Yeah.
turnovers
Yeah.
last night. I mean, I really think, getting back to the defense, just taking over the game will allow the offense to open up and, find a new juice, because early on in that game when the defense was working and they were getting stops, they had all of the energy. The defense, you saw them you saw them dancing, you saw them pumped up. You kind of saw the offense, they were kind of in it, kind of out of it. But after a couple more big plays from the defense and another turnover happened, and you really started to see the juices flow in Diggs, and you started to see more confidence in Josh Allen, and you saw James Cook run over people. It just everything after the Bills defense took control, it just became free Josh and free offense.
Yep. I agree. 100%. Like, yeah, I noticed like a difference in Josh, like after that Khalil's touchdown, when he just went out
Mhm.
and started, shaking Khalil. I was like, man, I think Josh is back. He just
Yeah, do you see the video of him, on the sideline after, saying I'm back?
and
Like,
like I'm
Yeah.
back.
yeah, no, like I mean, you can almost just sense it. Like, I mean, he was playing a lot more like his, normal self. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and it, I'm not trying to, completely trash Dorsey because, he was his quarterback coach who helped develop him. And I think, Josh still kind of feels bad about that situation. But I mean, that curse is finally over. I mean, I feel like Josh is back to being that quarterback. We all know. I mean, and
Yeah.
if we get this Josh Allen going forward, I mean, the Bills can go on the run. I mean, their defense actually, even with the injuries, is still playing, you know, up to par. It's just, now you're 6-5. You got 6 games left. 2 of them are against, the 2 teams from last year's Super Bowl,
Yep.
and they're matching up tonight. And those are our next 2 opponents. You also have the Cowboys. The Chargers doesn't look as daunting. I mean, that is an away game, and the Chargers could be desperate, but it does look like, the wheels are fully falling off of that wagon, at least right now. I mean, the Patriots is winnable. I mean, Miami, um, I'm not even gonna say it, but I mean, you know what type of scenarios could be week 8, and play week 18. So I mean, if Miami's resting players, that might be a more winnable game. I mean, I think Cowboys in Buffalo. I mean, I think you can at least get in with 10 wins. It's just a
Oh,
question of, you know, can this team win on the road? I mean, I think they can. This year they've been absolutely horrible on the road, but we'll see how they do, under Joe Brady. I mean, the next 2 weeks are almost like playoff games for them. I mean, they're going to be in playoff environments against, Super Bowl contenders. So, I mean, we'll have a very good feeling of how this team is going to be the next, couple of months, the next 2 games of the season. I know they got the bye week sandwich in there, but I mean, if things really don't go well, and both games are on the road, I know, but I mean, if things don't go well, you know, the story of this, I know it's not. There's still going to be 4 more games after that, but it just depending on the next 2 games, that might be a telltale sign of the fate of this 2023 Bills team,
yeah.
which I mean, it has so much talent, but there's still a couple fatal flaws in the roster construction. You had some big injuries, and I mean, coaching incompetency for, let's face it, 10 games. Like, you saw how much better the offense was. Like, I
Yeah.
know McDermott did make the right call in ultimately firing Dorsey, but I mean, why didn't he do it after the Giants game? After the Patriots game, one of those games? You waited too long, you took too many losses, and now you basically got to play perfect football the rest of the, season.
Yeah.
Yeah, the decision last we talked about the weird timing of of the decision of firing Dorsey last week. Like, why wasn't it sooner? Maybe after the Jaguars game after London. I mean, that's personally where I felt, that was the start of it. But then after that, like you said, the Giants or the Bucks, why not after them? But I want to go back to this game and Joe Brady. And one thing we all have emphasized as among Bills fans and the media and all of us is motion. Like, use pre-snap motion. I mean,
Yep.
we've seen it so many times. The one thing I never understood with Dorsey was we saw it all over the preseason games. Like, we saw it almost every other couple of plays, and then here he is in the regular season. Like, well, we're not going to use pre-snap motion. We're just going to go back to the old playbook that we used last year, and we're just going to hopefully that playbook works. And Joe Brady this week says, "Hey, we're going to use pre-snap motion. How about we're going to use it 18 times and we're going to average 7.5 yards per time we use pre-snap motion." Just absolutely wonderful play calling using play pre-snap motion, something we all been calling for. And people say, well, Josh Allen doesn't feel comfortable with it. I mean, they used it 18 times last game. I think Josh Allen feels absolutely comfortable with it. It was
Yeah.
just a matter of how the Bills were using pre-snap motion. That was, I think, the issue. And that's why people were saying Josh Allen was uncomfortable with pre-snap motion. I think he's fully comfortable in pre-snap motion
Mhm.
based off last game.
Right. I think so too. Like, I mean, it showed last night. Like, out of the motion, like it opened everything up in the middle of the field last night. Like, I mean, Josh was just, he was on stride, and like he was making things happen, and then he just looked more comfortable. Like, I've seen, this is probably the most comfortable game I've seen him play all year.
Not
This
only
is
that, what about a shout out to the O-line? Josh
Yeah,
is the
oh,
least
wonderful.
sacked quarterback in the NFL. The Jets have one of the best fronts in football. I mean,
He's
and
only
if you
thank
been
go
sacked
back,
14 times.
yeah, thank you, Cromer, for putting together
yeah,
that offensive line.
yeah, well, thank you for being and Cromer, but I mean,
Yeah,
go back and watch the tape yesterday. Like we were just bullying the Jets defensive line, and they have
yeah,
one of the best defensive lines in football. So
yep,
big props to the O line. I mean, if you could play like that against the Eagles and
oh,
Chiefs, like I mean, I think the offense could still score, 20, 30. It just might depend on, can the defense make enough stops. Now the Eagles, I am a little bit more confident in. Just because they don't have Goddard makes it a little bit easier of a matchup. But AJ Brown, uh, that man is, I mean, he's kind of like an alien to me. Like,
yeah,
I'm a little nervous about that matchup, but I mean, I guess we'll just, let the offense cook. But I guess, as we transition from this Jets game, we'll get a good idea of, what to expect from this Eagles team tonight. I
hmm
know they played Miami in New England and, kind of matched up against both those teams for us to see. But I mean, I'll be interested to see how they do against the Chiefs just because I mean, we are kind of similar to the Chiefs stylistically to an extent. And I know the Chiefs, their defense is improved, but I still think our defense is it while it hasn't been as good as the Chiefs, I think it's still up there, and I think we can, we
yeah,
could, in the playoffs definitely, take it a notch higher if we can make it to the playoffs. I mean,
yeah,
you just gotta win 4 more games, and I know we were going to discuss these playoff picks for tonight, right?
yeah,
Yeah, we are.
So
yeah,
I
right
mean, what makes
now, oh, go
well,
ahead.
uh, I was just going to say what makes me confident for this week is Josh Allen's 9-1 versus top 5 defenses, and he has 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So it
Wow.
makes me absolutely
Talk
comfortable.
about
big,
a fantastic stat, but I mean, if you look at the AFC picture now, it's Chiefs 1, Miami or Jacksonville 2, or Baltimore.
that's Baltimore. I think it's two.
Baltimore 2.
Yeah, I think Baltimore's two right now.
Oh,
They take over the one seed
let
if
me look it up.
I got it. Hold on.
take over the one seed if KC loses tonight, Ben.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yep,
so we got
yep,
KC, Baltimore,
Jacksonville.
then Jacksonville,
uh
then
huh,
Miami, and in the wild cards we currently have Cleveland, right?
yep,
Houston
Hmm.
Pittsburgh, I
Yep.
think.
and Pittsburgh, I
Pittsburgh.
think.
Yep.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh lost yesterday, and I mean their offense is almost Jets bad. I mean, they just are lucky they kind of have a run game. Um, but I mean, a lot of these teams play each other, but we also have one of the toughest schedules in the league. I mean, there is a chance you could get in with 9 wins, but the Bills already have 5 AFC losses.
yeah,
Right.
Conference losses. Once you get to tiebreakers, it gets a lot tougher. Now, thankfully, I don't think Cincinnati is a team you're gonna have to worry about.
mm,
Jacksonville's probably gonna win their division, but what about Denver? I mean, Denver's 5-5 now. Look at the Broncos schedule the rest of the way. Like, I mean, I would still rather have the Bills team, but I mean, they play Cleveland at home with a rookie quarterback.
yep,
At Houston, okay, CJ Stroud, I mean, still a rookie quarterback. Then at the Chargers, at the Lions, home against the Patriots, home against the Chargers, and at the Raiders.
uh huh,
I see one pretty tough game against the Lions, but I mean, the way Denver's playing, I mean, I think Denver can play with the Lions and 2 against the Chargers, 1 against One against the Raiders, yeah. I mean, Texans, Browns, Patriots. I mean,
Yeah.
Denver might be able to get 4 or 5 more wins. Like,
Yeah.
it's getting even tighter, right? I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, as great as this, Brady offense may be, and it might be good, and the Bills might be able, to potentially go, 5-2 their last 7 games. But what happens if it's too late, right? Like, what happens if they, lose a couple tough games, by 1 score or something?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to, go undefeated and win all these games in a row in the NFL.
Yep.
And then Denver somehow gets to 10 wins. The Browns have 10 wins because they already have 7 wins, Cleveland. And they're what, 7-4? If I'm not
7-3.
mistaken.
And
Oh,
three.
even better, 7-3.
Mhm.
So they got 7 games left. We got 6, and they have, they're
Sorry,
one.
Cleveland 6-4. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, Cleveland 6-4.
Yeah, Cleveland
I'm
6-4.
sure they were 7-4.
7-3.
Oh no, never mind. I was looking at their upcoming opponent, which was the opponent they just faced. They're 7-3.
They are
Scratch that. I
7-3.
totally messed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
7-3. So exactly. They're a game and a half ahead of the Bills with 1 less game played.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know they have a rookie quarterback, but they still got, a great defense.
Yep.
And I mean, let's take a look at their schedule. Okay, the Broncos. That's going to be a big game, but you got to figure someone's going to win between the Broncos and Cleveland. So, the Broncos, that's either another win to help them, an AFC win, at that. Or, the Browns go to 8-3. Then they go at the Rams. Winnable game with that defense. Home against the Jags. Late in December or early December game in Cleveland. Very tough place to play with that defense. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been too hot this season.
Oh yeah.
I could see them winning that game. Home against the Bears. At the Texans. Still a rookie quarterback versus that defense. Home against the Jets. At the Bengals and Jake Browning. The Browns already have 7 wins. You got to figure they can, at the very least, are winning 3 more, and they're going to have a better AFC record than Buffalo. So they're getting a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Potentially, potentially the Broncos. I mean, look at the Texans' schedule too.
yeah,
Like,
that's the team I really want to talk about.
I mean, if you're gonna be worried about a team, like they play Cleveland, so someone gets a win there between them. I think they let me pull up
I got their
Houston's
schedule.
schedule.
They
So
got Jags.
Houston, yep, they got Jacksonville, Broncos, Jets, Titans twice, Colts, and Browns. Wow.
Wow.
They have what, 6 wins right now? 6
Yeah.
and 4? Oh, man.
I mean, if
Like,
they beat the Browns
the
or
Bills
the
might have to, win out to make the playoffs or,
yeah,
go 6-1. Like, I'm being
Our best
serious.
bet right now is Pittsburgh falling off. I think there's a chance Pittsburgh falls
Yeah,
out.
but even if Pittsburgh
That-
falls off, you got
you got
the
3 other
Broncos.
teams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still got the Broncos, you got the Texans.
Yeah. Well,
So
you get 3 wild card spots, so you can give those
3
2.
wild card spots.
You
You
can
got to
give-
assume that Cleveland is taking the top 1 right now.
You just gotta hope Denver would fall off. Hopefully, Denver would fall off.
Right, but they play the Chargers twice, the
Yeah.
Raiders, the Browns, the Texans,
Yeah, I mean,
the
they
Lions. Like,
lose
that's
some.
not a gauntlet, especially for a coach like Sean Payton.
Yeah.
You get to these late games, it's all about the chess matchup and coaching. And you've seen Sean Payton, he completely outcoached McDermott. He outcoached a young coach in O'Connell last night. Like, I know Dan Campbell's been good, but I mean, Campbell comes from Peyton's tree. So, I mean, Peyton's gonna, it's the master versus the apprentice type of thing. So I guess we'll see how that game goes. But I mean, Russell Wilson has been balling out, and that defense has been, coming to play the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Ever since that Miami game, they've had a different defense. Yes.
Yeah, the Broncos are definitely coming into form, and at the early part of the season, the Broncos were a joke at that point in the season.
Yeah.
Now they basically they didn't one up the Chiefs, but they were so close to beating the Chiefs on that Thursday night game. So
Yeah.
that installed confidence in them. And after that, they beat us. And then they have so many other wins in between us and the Chiefs and us and now and who they
Yeah.
played last night and the Vikings. They're just confident. They're riding high. Their defense is playing good.
Yeah.
I
And
think the
like
Broncos season might wind up being determined by Russell Wilson and how
he's
he
playing
performs the rest of
really
the year.
good this
Right.
season. And
Hmm.
I remember so many people telling me, the Bills shouldn't go after Cortland Sutton, even though I've heard they made calls because he's not a clear upgrade over Gabe Davis. But if you've watched the last, 4 or 5 games and seen how well, I want to say Sutton probably has 6 or 7 touchdowns on the season now.
Boy, I'm upset we didn't make the move for him.
Like
I'm
that play yet against the Bills, that's the catch of the year. Like the catch of the year
yeah,
always happens against the Bills. He had the game-winning touchdown last night. Like, oh, I was wrong. Cortland Sutton has 8 touchdowns on the
Oh,
season now, and
jeez.
that's with Russell Wilson.
yeah,
Like, can you imagine him in the red zone, him opposite Diggs? Like,
yeah.
that's a type of number 2 receiver you're gonna want. But luckily, I mean, this is a pretty loaded college football draft class. There's gonna be a lot, and we might see some of them in this college football playoff. And speaking of college football playoff, I think we're gonna transition into our college football segment. So take it away, Paul.
So, a lot of college football to get to. I mean, we haven't really touched college football landscape most of the year because obviously the NFL has been up here, but there's been a lot of good moments and bad moments in college football this year. One of the bad moments, Jordan Travis, awful injury on Saturday against North Alabama, but also Caleb Williams and the fall of USC.
Yeah.
Guys, just absolutely gutted in a way for him. Like no college football playoff, no chance to really sharpen up his resume. Questions: could he possibly not be number one? Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, maybe Bo Nix can fly over him. Penix Jr. So, who do you guys think
Nah, I don't think Bo
has
Nix
the
or
most
Penix.
memorable career out of Travis and Williams?
I don't think. Well, first of all, I don't think Bo Nix or Penix are gonna pass Caleb Williams
We're just
at
throwing
all.
names out there.
Yeah, Harrison maybe, but still, like, I mean, it's a quarterback-driven league. There's so many receivers. You can trade for them. I mean, there's NFL-ready receivers in the second or third round. Guys like Josh Downs, Tank Dell coming and producing. So
Mhm.
you
Yep.
don't need the receiver. You need someone to get the ball to the receiver. So that's why I think it's going to be quarterback. But speaking of, I mean, I love Jordan Travis. Don't get me wrong. He had a great career, most touchdowns by an FSU quarterback in school history. But I mean, it's got to be Caleb Williams. Like you saw what he did in Oklahoma with that crazy Red River rival comeback. Having a really good freshman season. Coming in for Spencer Rattler, who struggled. Then to go to, USC and follow his head coach winning a Heisman Trophy.
Hmm.
This season, unfortunately, not really having the final season he would have hoped for before he declares for the draft at the end of this year, presumably. But it's got to be Caleb Williams. But hell of a career to Jordan Travis as well.
I agree, Ben. I'm gonna give it to Caleb Williams. Like just the way he's been playing in college, it's just he's had a wonderful career, and I hope like wherever he lands in the NFL, he has a great success too in the NFL. So
Yeah, I would love
long
to
as
see
it's not
him
like
go.
as long as it's not like New England or somebody.
Yeah, as long as it's not New England, the Jets, even though he said he wanted, to be a Miami Dolphin, I don't think we got to worry about that because, Tua's balling out this year. They're going to pay him. They're not going to draft, anywhere close to be able to pick Caleb Williams unless something crazy happened, but
Right.
we don't have to worry about that. What about the Giants? Like, give Dable a decent quarterback and
I
even
don't
though
know.
Tommy DeVito is playing pretty well, I know maybe that's something about the name Tommy,
Yeah, right.
the special name, right?
DeVito, the legend of Tommy DeVito. You know what
The
I'm saying?
legend of Tommy DeVito. Hey, he's already got more touchdown passes on the season than Zach Wilson. And
Whoa.
Zach Wilson has been playing every game since week 1.
Great.
How pathetic is that?
I know. I mean, it reminds me of like the legend of like you could say the legend of Tebow or like the legend of Gardner Minshew. It's just a simple.
Something like that, like
Gardner Minshew is still kind of balling out. I mean, with the Colts, in some way, maybe not like full Gardner Minshew when he first came in,
Mhm.
but he's still having a pretty solid
Yeah,
backup career.
he's been doing pretty
You
good.
know, just
But
like lucky. I mean, I wouldn't say the the moments that he has came in were kind of lucky because it's like, oh, he goes to a new team, already has a starter, and now that starter goes down. Here he is, back to proving himself. But
he seems
most
like
memorable, but
Gardner Minshew just seems like he's the modern day Fitzpatrick at this
yeah,
point.
yeah,
We're
I was
just
I was
like,
thinking that too, man.
every team he goes on, he
Yeah.
somehow ends up the quarterback. He's good,
Yep.
exciting, a very
But
likable guy. He's got swagger, but he's
he
just
just
not
can't.
good enough. Like
Yeah.
he'll always have you in the game and close. And you might have the ball at the end of the game driving, to either take the lead or tie it, but you
Yep.
just won't be able to get down the field, or he'll throw a late game interception or just miss a throw, something or the other. Like, I mean, like, uh, anyways, like, let's segue now to our college picks
Oh,
because, like you mentioned, it's
Rob,
rivalry week,
oh,
and
woohoo!
I mean, there's a lot of big games on the slate.
heck yeah. Let's go. Let's get them. Let's get these picks in.
All right. Big slate. We are picking 7 games out of this rivalry
Okay.
weekend. And we're gonna start in the Pacific Northwest between Oregon and Oregon State. It's going to be in Eugene.
Okay.
Probably the last time these two teams will ever face each other unless some sort of deal happens.
Uh huh.
I wouldn't say
Oregon
ever,
does lead.
probably for the foreseeable future, but
Yeah.
man, I mean, that Oregon State Washington game was a very good game on Saturday night, and like the Beavers were just chipping away in that second half, and fortunately, Washington escaped with a very narrow victory. But I mean, Oregon State's got a very good defense. They're shutting down those receivers. They got
Yeah.
a great running game, ground and pound. I'm actually gonna go with the upset. Like,
Ooh.
I think Oregon State ends Oregon's playoff wishes, and in the final rivalry game, I got the Beavers.
Wouldn't be the first time the Beavers ended playoff hopes or anything like that. They did it several times to USC. So
Yeah. You know what? This game. This game is a tough one for me, but like I'm not giving up on this Oregon off. This offense is so explosive, and I just think they're just gonna be too much for Oregon State. So like, give me the Ducks. I got the Ducks.
Oregon State, like you said, Ben, played well up against Washington. They stayed in the game. They were competitive most of that game,
Mm-hmm.
but it was Washington who had the more up power, and they were able to come out with the win. And I think that's what's going to happen in this game. I think Oregon State will stay in it, make it interesting, make you watch until the very last whistle.
Yeah.
But Oregon will win this game and continuing. Hopefully, maybe they get into the college football playoffs. Obviously, they will have to go through the Pac-12 championship in order to do that. Let's stay in the Pacific Northwest. Washington State at Washington in the Apple Cup. They've met. This is their 115th meeting of all time, and they will continue to play through 2028. So a rivalry that will stay with expansion. Who do we got?
I got the Huskies. I know Washington State kind of put the beat down on Dion's Buffaloes last week, but I mean that's kind of what everyone's been doing. They've just been kind of passing around Colorado and laying the smackdown on them.
Love it.
Even these other Pac-12 teams. But I mean, this Husky offense is just too dynamic, too high-powered. I mean, I think it'll be a great game just because of the rivalry. But give me Washington to keep the Huskies' playoff hopes alive.
Yep. I'm with you on this one, Ben. Yeah. Give me the Huskies too. I think they're just gonna be too much for Washington State. So yeah, give me the Huskies.
I don't have Janice picks, but I hopefully we don't end Washington's playoffs hopes in this game because I'm also going the Huskies,
Clean
Yeah.
and
sweep.
hopefully we don't curse the Huskies if they're trying
Nope.
to get into the
I hope.
college football playoff. And anyway, but let's head over to the other side of the country in the Commonwealth Cup, Virginia will
Oh,
host Virginia Tech.
Ooh.
Tech has won 17 of the last
my big state
18
right,
games
right,
against these two.
Virginia Tech.
Who do we
Yeah.
have winning?
Ooh, I don't. I know you're a Virginia guy, Tommy, being living in the Commonwealth.
Well, which view
Even though
they don't.
even though VTech has gotten the better of Virginia a lot recently,
Uh,
and Virginia Tech may actually be slightly above Virginia, even though I know both of them are towards the bottom of the ACC
yeah.
standings. I'm going to give it to Virginia. I don't know where the game is, but this
It's in
freshman
Virginia.
this freshman quarterback they have, Anthony Calandria, is the real deal. He
Yeah.
balled out. I think it was Duke they beat last week,
Yep.
but he had a fantastic performance. I think it's Malik Washington. He had eight straight 100-yard games. One of the best receivers in the country, honestly. So give me the Cavaliers.
I'm with you on this one, Ben. I think they're just going to be too much for Virginia Tech. I mean, they got the home. It'll be. I mean, that place will be going nuts for that rivalry game. So
Oh,
like, it's
100%.
gonna be hard for Tech. Like, if it was at Tech, I'd probably pick Tech. But if it's at UVA, give me UVA.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be too tough for Tech.
I noted Tech has won 17 of the last 18.
Mm.
These players for Virginia, obviously the seniors that are on that team or those super seniors on that team who's played this game several times and
Yeah.
just getting lashed by Virginia Tech. There's
Mm.
going to be something there. They're going to be home. They're going to be wanting to win for their program. Give me Virginia over Virginia Tech. End this wild 17 of the last 18.
Yeah.
Go out there. You don't have to pound them. I mean, you could if you want to, but just go out there, get a win, and head out your senior year with something good and positive with yourself.
Yeah.
All right, we're not going to go too far. We're going to go to the Governor's Cup in Louisville. Kentucky will go on the road to take on Louisville. Kentucky leads this all-time rivalry 19-15.
Mm.
Cats or Cards?
I'm going Louisville. Kentucky has been a mess recently. Louisville, they're playing in the ACC championship game. They got one loss, so give me the Cards.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Louisville, they're playing good. Kentucky, they're like on a downfall. So I'm with you too, Ben. Give me the Cards.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kentucky's basketball program. That's it.
Yeah.
Their football program's meh, but Louisville has just swanned the ACC except for Florida State. That ACC championship game will be so much fun to watch. Cardinals will probably beat the Cats by like 3 scores or something in this game. This will probably be the least fun rivalry game we'll probably watch this weekend.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Sunshine Showdown between Florida State and Florida. Florida State will have to go into Gainesville, but Florida State does lead the all-time series 37, 27, and 2. What do we got?
Even though there's no Jordan Travis, there's also going to be no Graham Mertz. And just looking at the complete rosters on the teams, Florida State's got several players who are going to be, players at the next level. So, give me the Seminoles. Biased answer, but I think they win by 2 or 3 scores, even without Jordan Travis.
Yeah, I think without Travis, like they might struggle a little bit on offense, but I think they're just going to have enough to get it done. I think, like you said, you got the two good receivers on that Florida State team. I think they're going to find a way, get them the ball, and I think they're going to win. They're going to win by at least a touchdown.
So. Yeah. I mean, you still got the best offensive, well, not the best, but it's up for the award for the best O-line in the country. You got a top O-line, one of the best receiving combos, a great tight end.
Yep.
I mean, and a trio of 3 very capable backs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
And, we started to see, some more from that run game when Travis went out. So I guess we'll see, how they play going forward without Travis.
I know, Ben, you are a Florida State guy. I mean, when I was younger, I was also a Florida State fan. I'm kind of starting to get back into the Florida State fandom here. But Florida State, losing Jordan Travis last week will hurt. It may not hurt this week, but it could hurt in the future.
Right.
But their quarterback last week, obviously they were playing North Alabama, but other than playing North Alabama, that backup quarterback looked pretty good, and I think there's a bright future for the Florida State program at the quarterback position. Florida does have a good defense, goodish defense. It's in Gainesville. I don't think Florida will win this game. I have Florida State winning in this game, but this might be an interesting game to watch out for during the time you're flipping through the channels of rivalry games this weekend. This could definitely, kind of like you said, Tommy, maybe a one-score game, but Florida State might pull through. But I think Florida State wins by like a touchdown or something in this game. But let's kind of stay in the South region of the country here, and let's go to the Iron Bowl. And has these most. This game may not be close, but this rivalry has turned into some, like, you have to tune into it a little bit because there always will be something wild to happen in the Iron Bowl.
I'm going Alabama. I don't think this game. It's not even. I know it's a great rivalry, but it's not even really worth picking. I mean, I feel like there's other rivalries more notable at this point, just because of how bad Auburn is. But yeah, give me Bama.
Give me Bama too. I think this is gonna be a blow. I think they're gonna win by at least 4 touchdowns. Give me Bama.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be close.
When I was picking through all these rivalry games to choose, I'm like, well, the Iron Bowl seems okay to pick. And it was like, well, yeah, I know Alabama was going to win. I thought there was going to be something here, but I mean, there's nothing here. I mean,
come
there's
on,
just
they
been
lost.
some wild moments.
I mean, Auburn lost to New Mexico State last week. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
All right, let's end the rivalry picks with the game. The game.
I mean, whoa. So you chose that game over Texas and Texas Tech's last matchup when that's gonna be a wild game. Wow.
Okay, let's pick it.
Crazy. Okay, I guess we will. So
let's have some fun with these college football picks.
Where's that game?
Texas Tech.
Oh, so that game could. I mean, that could be a wild game.
It could be.
I got the Longhorns, but I think this is gonna be a a crazy type game. Maybe we get overtime or something. Yeah, give me the Longhorns.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a nail biter. I got the Longhorns winning by like a touchdown. I think they win by a touchdown. Give me the Longhorns.
I was thinking about putting this game on here, and then I scratched it last minute. I have no idea why. Thanks, Ben, for calling me out on that. That was a dumb decision by me because that Alabama and Auburn game had nothing informative to bring to the discussion today, except them losing to New Mexico State for the final time. Texas and Texas Tech will play each other in Texas Tech. There's going to be something. If there is one team that's going to be an upset alert this weekend, it's not Florida State, it's Texas. Because of that reason, it's Texas versus Texas Tech for probably the last time ever. Well, maybe not ever, but like for the first time in the next 100 years, this will not be probably. So Texas will probably win this game. I'm going to choose them to win, but I'm going to put them on big, bright upset alert because there's going to be something brewing in that Texas Tech locker room. Maybe someone throws a cleat or something. They're going to come out and they might want to say something to Texas for going to the SEC after this year.
I agree.
Yeah, that should be a great game.
Hopefully we did not jinx them for all of us picking Texas right now. Keep your fingers crossed. Keep your eyes peeled to the television.
And my toes.
And your toes.
And your toes. But the game, there's nothing more exciting than waking up at noon Eastern watching the game. Man, I wish this game was every year.
One of the worst parts about this game is that it's at noon. Like, it should be on prime time, ESPN late at night,
Next year will probably be on CBS prime time or NBC. Would preferably on CBS.
Yeah, maybe they will do it in prime time. Now it's gonna be no longer on Fox. I guess we'll see. If what CBS will do. But nonetheless, like, this is one of the best games in all of sports, if we're being honest, as far as rivalry goes and competitiveness. Both teams, it's 2 versus 3. They're fighting for their playoff lives, and ultimately, I mean, this might just very well be like a playoff matchup, technically speaking. So, I mean, whoever doesn't win this game is good. um, uh, all right.
Back to your Michigan Ohio State points, Ben.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Should we explain to the audience who would be listening to this tomorrow just randomly crack up because just out of random, or do you just leave them in mystery?
Just leave mystery. Let's go to this big game. Let's like a lead up forward to the big game.
All right. Back to the game. It's I mean, whoever doesn't win is, more than likely going to be, sitting on the outside looking in when playoff time comes around. So, I mean, Harbaugh's not playing or coaching just because he did take the the NCAA suspension. He didn't, fight it. So we won't see Harbaugh, but I mean, who knows if Harbaugh is going to even be at Michigan next year? So I mean, this could be the last, Harbaugh era. The game, Ohio State. I mean, I believe this game is it's in Michigan, right?
It's in Ann Arbor, yes.
It's in Ann Arbor, so that's the advantage. Michigan's defense has been balling out. Ohio State's defense has been balling out, and it seems like Ohio State has kind of been getting things together recently. Their offense is back on track, but I think Michigan still has the edge defensively and at quarterback. They have a great run game, and they can just, grind out games in almost any fashion. So I'm going to take the Wolverines since they're at home.
You know what? After seeing Michigan struggle against Maryland, this has me thinking like Ohio State. I have that feeling Ohio State's going to win this game like by it might be 10, might be 13. I think they're going to win by double score.
Really? All
Yeah.
right. That's
You
a
have
bold
Ohio
take on me.
State kind of like.
I think Ohio State's going to get it done. I think they're going to.
Wow.
I'm going.
Ryan would be happy if that happened. Shout out to Ryan.
Yeah.
Let's go Buckeyes.
Ryan would be ecstatic right now.
Yeah.
But Ryan's going to be so disappointed at me right now. I'm not taking Ohio State. I'm not. Michigan has won the last 2. They went into Ohio State last year and beat them like solidly.
That is a good point.
The year before they beat them in Ann Arbor.
Thoroughly,
Ohio
right?
State,
last year, like it was a beatdown.
It was a beatdown in Ohio State.
Yeah.
And that was with CJ Stroud at quarterback.
Yeah, that's
now
a
you're
good
talking
point.
about Kyle McCord, who's for the first time playing in this rivalry. Yeah, he sat on the bench and watched it, but it's a different feeling going inside the big house.
Yeah, I mean,
tons of Michigan supporters. I think Ohio State could struggle in this game. Not saying this game could be a blowout. Michigan wins, but Ohio State loses just because an inexperienced quarterback getting into a rivalry that is one of the biggest maybe in the world right now. And all eyes will be on that game at noon Eastern. Michigan concerned me last week when they were playing Maryland, and Maryland kind of like stuck it to them in a way. But I think Michigan had no intentions of really playing Maryland last week. Their focus was on Ohio State. That's why that game was the way it was, because they weren't thinking about Maryland. They're like, we're going to walk in, we're going to grab a W, and then we're going to go play Ohio State next week.
Right.
And that's literally why Michigan probably was 31-24 last week. Michigan wins this game.
That's very risky, though. I mean, if they would have let up then they had to play Ohio State, and they had 2 losses, and that might have hit them from playoff contention. So,
it certainly was risky, but Michigan, I don't think, was ever going to lose that game because they were just going to overpower Maryland in some capacity, or Maryland was just going to do something dumb to lose that game. and within itself a safety and ended that game. So
Right. Never outlook an opponent though. Never outlook an
never
100%.
outlook on opponent.
never.
Buffalo sports knows that better.
Yes.
Yeah. Um.
Ugh.
All right, we got our NFL ones. We should probably, do these kind of rapid fire. Just
Okay.
Yeah,
because we
let's
got
get these.
that Monday night game going on.
Yeah, good one.
I wanna watch that.
Gonna be a
No
good one.
offense to any of the viewers. As much as you guys may enjoy our podcast, want to hear us keep talking. I want to watch this game. It's gonna it's gonna be a great game, and plus, like it's the Bills' next two opponents, so I
Yep.
mean we'll get to see them in action and kind of scout them out. So
I'm
Paul,
excited.
what do we got for these picks for the NFL?
We're gonna start with I think with the three Thanksgiving feast games. Let's start in
Okay, I
Detroit,
like that.
hosting the Green Bay Packers.
I liked what I saw from the Packers and Jordan Love against the Chargers, but the Chargers right now have dropped to the bottom, the NFL in defensive rankings. Jared Goff played a very bad game, and the Lions were still able to have a epic comeback against Chicago. So
Yep.
they're at home. Give me the Lions winning on Thanksgiving this year after losing last year.
Yeah, I'm on the Lions as well. I think Goff's going to be too much for Jordan Love in that offense, and Aaron Jones. That's a big loss from Aaron Jones. I think.
Oh yeah, good point.
Was it a torn ACL by Aaron Jones? Does
Oh,
anybody
jeez.
know?
I have no idea.
Actually, I don't know the diagnosis. I
Oh.
just know he was lost. But yeah, that is a huge loss.
That's a huge loss for them. So yeah, give me the Lions.
Give me the Lions as well. I mean, if you
Surprised
listen
Mr.
to the
Packer didn't take the the Packers.
Mr.
I've picked them a few times. They've lost a couple times ever since I picked them. So hopefully, good luck comes their way.
Yeah.
With me going to Detroit just flat out one of the better teams in the NFL at this moment.
Yeah.
One of the best coaches in the
Jenna
league.
get her pick for that game?
Jenna did not submit any of her picks.
I guess we'll get them later.
We'll get them later. Yeah, that's cool.
All right, we're staying the Thanksgiving festivities with Dallas hosting the Washington Commanders.
I kind of feel bad for little Howie in this game. He's gotten abused. I forgot how many times the Bills sacked him, but in Dallas
9
versus
times.
Parsons, 9 times. In Dallas versus Parsons and those boys, it could be 10 times. Give me the Cowboys, big.
Yeah, give me the Cowboys big too. It's not gonna look too good for Samantha Howell.
Yeah, little Howie's going down. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I remember a moment during the Bills Jets game. They were previewing this game. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo were on the screen. They're like, "Yeah, we got this game Thanksgiving. We're going back to Dallas. Yeah, we're just going back to Dallas." They're not excited for this game.
No.
Give me the Dallas Cowboys for that reason, because Dallas would just probably win by a few scores. The end our Thanksgiving feast, we might actually get a good game on Thanksgiving night. Seattle hosting the Niners.
I don't think so, actually. After watching Geno Smith, is Geno Smith going to play? I know he got hurt.
I think he's questionable or something.
Ooh, if he doesn't play, it could be even uglier because I don't trust Drew Lock. They struggled against a Rams team that isn't that good. I don't care if it's in Seattle, and that's a tough place to play. The Niners are flat out, one of the best teams in the league. Give me the Niners.
Start the 49ers defense in fantasy, y'all. Give me the Niners.
I'm pissed. I could have started Purdy in fantasy. And I decided to start Hurts. I took an L on that.
It's all good.
We'll see how Hurts plays tonight.
Yeah, I don't think he's having more than 33 points, but we'll see.
Give me the Niners in this game. I totally forgot about. For some reason, me just forgetting about teams with injuries at this point of the season.
I mean, at this point, it's every team, so you just gotta,
Yep, gotta
expect some type of injury in every game.
If Geno plays, this game is closer than I think it's going to be. Geno doesn't play, I think. We're going to bed. If
Geno plays, it's a 21-point loss versus a 28-point loss if Drew Lock plays. Next.
All right.
Black Friday. I mean, at least this could be somewhat interesting.
It's going to be interesting to see how long Tim Boyle lasts before he gets benched for Trevor Siemian. Yeah, the big news of the day. The Bills broke the Jets, guys.
Yeah.
They really did. Robert Saleh tackled Zach Wilson on the sideline, and Zach Wilson finally got benched again.
Oh man,
And I mean, it
rough,
was just
rough
pathetic.
for Jackie.
They were fighting in the hallways, going back to the locker room.
He
The
got a
Jets
bunch of
were just
hard ball
tweeting
sack in his
stuff.
face too.
Yeah. Oh man. Terrell Bernard absolutely teabagged Zach Wilson. I don't know how you could come back for that. I do not like Miami. I want them to lose every game, but they're gonna smoke the Jets. Absolutely smoke them. And honestly, I'm here for it. Why not? Let's just let it burn, right? Let it burn, baby. If the Dolphins drop 60 on them, I'll just sit there and, just be watching and just, as, the Jets fans panic
Do
and,
we get any Black
that
Friday
whole,
compensation or something for watching this game?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's no contest here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a TKO fight.
Oh, man.
This is over before the Jets even walk onto the field.
Yeah, it's over before
They call it the Black Friday game. Call it the blackout game. You know what I'm
exactly. You may as well call it a blackout game, right?
God dang.
Maybe a more
I'd
interesting
rather
game this weekend
black
we
out
could
than
pick,
watch that game. All right.
which is the next game. The Jags at the Texans. This
game
could be for a division.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing. This game could be for the division. It's in Houston. The Texans are just playing really well right now. I like CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
But that being said, in these big games like this in November and at the end of the year, to me, it comes down to coaching and experience. And the Houston team is just still inexperienced. And I don't get me wrong, I love D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick, but you have a mastermind and a Super Bowl champion head coach over there and Doug Peterson. You have a defense that's playing really well in Jacksonville. ETN is probably a top 5 running back this year. So I'm gonna stick with the Jags here. They're gonna avenge that ugly loss earlier in the season, but I think it's a good game.
I want to agree with you, Ben, but I something about this Texans team. I think they're gonna get in somehow, and I think they're gonna overtake the Jags. I actually think they're gonna win the division.
I mean, if they win this game, there's a really good chance they win their division.
Know, give me the Texans. I think they're gonna sweep the Jags, and
all right, getting the brooms out. I like it.
Give me the Texans.
Give me the Texans as well. I am full board on this.
Guys are on the CJ Stroud hype train.
I am full on CJ Stroud train. And
I'm not giving up on Lawrence yet. We'll see.
I'm not giving up on Lawrence. I just like CJ Stroud and what this young team in Houston is doing and what they're building. I really hope. Yes, I want the Bills to make the playoffs.
Yeah, me too.
But the Houston Texans are just a wonderful Cinderella story in a way. Just like I fall for these every year and somehow get somewhat disappointed that the Cinderella doesn't continue to becoming the Cinderella. Yeah. But the Houston Texans beat the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. I think that was their test game. Now this is their another test game, and I think they're ready for this game in November. Thanksgiving football. Why not? The Texans.
I'll just say this: as good as the stories the Texans have been, and as great as CJ Stroud has been, if Anthony Richardson didn't get hurt, I still think the Colts would be, the talk of the league. Richardson would be taking over with his crazy explosive plays, his big arms, this and that.
Yeah,
I think Stroud is good, but I mean, I said it before the seasons, the Colts are the team to watch out for in that division. I guess we'll see. We got to wait a year, but what's our final selection?
All right.
Final selection we're going to stay in the wild AFC North. Just almost every playoff implication for the Bills at the moment relies on the Steelers, Browns, Bengals, or the Texans in some sort of capacity.
I hate
this game.
Game either.
This is a weird, wild game. Jake Browning versus Kenny Pickett. Maybe the battle of the mids. What's going on?
I mean, Kenny Pickett does not look good. I actually kind of like what I saw from Browning. I think the Bengals defense has not been playing good, but they still have talent. And I think against Kenny Pickett, they still should be able to play well enough. You still have all that skill talent in Cincinnati. So if Browning just doesn't turn it over, they rely on Mixon. But I mean, we're gonna have to rely on Cincy, to knock off some of these AFC teams for us. So I hate to say it, but who day? It's kind of gross saying that, but I got the Bengals.
Gives me a turn in my tummy.
This
Yeah.
game, like after watching the Steelers play the Browns, it's like, oh my god, that offense is garbage.
I would rather watch paint dry, for being honest.
Was pain. It was painful. Like watching that on the red zone, it was painful. I mean, when Pickett
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure what you were really watching because, like, I was watching the red zone too, and like they showed like 2 plays from that whole game, Tommy. Like it wasn't on the red zone, if we're being honest.
It was awful. So
I got it in my own region. I just said no.
I trust the Bengals getting it done at home. I think that home crowd's gonna like frustrate Pickett, and Pickett's just gonna pick it.
He's gonna get picked a couple times.
He could throw
the Bengals are gonna pick it.
Yeah, they're gonna pick it off. You know what I'm saying? So give me the Bengals here.
Interesting game in a way. This just fuels the what is known as the AFC Big Ten game. Again, this is going to be again probably a 13-10 type of game, grinded out defensive battle. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers were not in that mode, right? They only scored 10 points. They really didn't get the win. And I would say that's what should put the Steelers over the Bengals this week with Jake Browning starting, but they just didn't look any good last week except for their defense.
Yeah.
Jake Browning, I think, is going to do slightly more than Kenny Pickett this week. The where this game lies is which defense can actually do something good against each other and which field goal kicker can kick the most field goals.
Right.
But I like McPherson, so give me the Bengals in this game, and we need the Bengals to win. So hopefully this turns out to be a Bengals win.
Yep.
You also got to take into account Browning's coming off of the bench. Yeah. The game plan's not designed around him. It's designed around Joe Burrow. It's a short week. When you have a backup quarterback in, you really pretty much have to rely on the run game. So I think Cincinnati should run the ball more just based off that. But yeah, I think the Bengals should be able to get the job done. But
we'll see.
We're almost, that Monday night game's about to kick off shortly. We'll get a good inside look at the Bills' next 2 opponents, and then the Bills, almost with a playoff game the next couple of, weeks. Ultimately, the rest of the season, it's almost like playoffs every week if we're being realistic. Like, you almost have to win out, if you want a good chance of making the playoffs.
Yep.
So if you want a Super Bowl, the road starts Sunday. You got to go through Philly. You got to go through KC. You got to beat Dallas at home. You have to go to LA. You have to beat the Patriots at home. You have to go to Miami. Then we'll see what happens from there. You might, have a home playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need to win out. And
it
almost I don't see a scenario where the Bills can get the 1 seed at this point. Maybe the 3 seed at best, but I mean, you might get a playoff game, maybe 2 home playoff games at best, but you're going to have to win on the road. And I mean, that starts Sunday. The Bills have been absolutely terrible on the road this season. So, I mean, if they're not able to, get to the playoffs, it ultimately will fall on their horrendous, road record. Right now, I believe they just have 1 win outside of Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken.
Washington.
Yeah, I would.
Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that Washington game, and then most of these games after that was the Jaguars. I don't think we really had a true road game since.
No, the Patriots, the Bengals.
Oh yeah, the Patriots. Yeah.
Yeah, Bengals.
Yeah, those were road games.
And we lost those. Yeah, so only 1 road win this season.
No.
Scary.
Heading
into these games.
LA is not a tough environment. I mean, we kind of know that from already going there. But Philly is, KC is, Miami's not really. And we'll see. Like, you got to just kind of just see how the next 5 games go before you can worry about that Week 18 matchup. I
Yep.
mean, Miami's got a little bit of ground on us, so I don't know. I mean, the Bills may be in a scenario where it's too little, too late, to make the postseason. And if that happens, I think there might be blood. Then someone's gonna have to pay for it in this organization. And I mean, I think it's gonna be the coach. Like, I mean, you already made that OC change, but ultimately, you're in year 7. I mean, to be missing the playoffs, especially with the Bills payroll this year,
Mhm.
you know, they made all those moves, traded for Douglas, signed Leonard Floyd, drafted Dalton Kincaid. Like, I mean, you got too many good players to be missing the playoffs with Josh Allen,
I
even
agree.
with the injuries, because every other team in the NFL has significant injuries. And
Yep.
sometimes you might just need a reset. I mean, I'm not saying the season is over. Joe Brady gave us a masterful game plan, and maybe Brady's what this team has been missing. Like, if if Brady's able to get this team in the playoffs and they go on a run, like, we might be, having a different conversation in a couple months. Like,
Yep.
I'm not gonna, even I gotta see if this team can make the playoffs and then who they play and then, how they play on the road before I even, I'm having a conversation about the divisional round at this point. Like, first you gotta get there before you talk about anything. I know some people are having the conversation about Super Bowl, if they're able to get in. I mean, I know there's a lot of parity in the AFC and this defense has been playing better, and you still have Josh Allen, and who knows what happens when you get to the playoffs. But first, you got to make it, and first, you got to show you can beat these, playoff caliber teams. Because I mean, let's be honest. Let's look at the Bills win. Outside of Miami, who I know, they're a great team that's been beating up against not so great teams. I mean, they beat the Commanders, who lost twice to the Giants. Um, the Raiders, who since fired their coach, and I mean, who knows how that matchup would go now if we played the Raiders and AP's Raiders. It's very early on in the season. We beat the Jets without Rodgers, and we beat the Bucks, who are kind of spiraling. Like, I mean, I'm just trying to look at it, like, objectively speaking, the Bills have really one quality win on the season so far. I think we can all kind of agree with,
Yeah.
like, the Jets, Tampa, Vegas, Washington, and the Giants. I don't think anyone could really write home about those teams. I mean, they lost to the Patriots and Broncos. For goodness sakes,
Yep.
I mean, the
Did
Bengals and Jags are one thing because those are two elite quarterbacks with talent,
Mhm.
and they weren't at home, but
Yep.
like, I don't know. Like, we'll see. Like, I mean, the season isn't over yet. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it is. You got, at this point, 7 more games, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's see what Brady and the boys can do. Like, we might be able to go on a run, and who knows what happens. There's a lot of injuries around the league. That's all I will say.
Yep.
But you guys got anything else as we wrap up?
Just enjoy the game tonight. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it. Go Birds, right? We need
Yeah.
them to win.
fly Eagles fly?
Fly Eagles fly. On Thursday we got the Basement Podcast with Matt and Pat. So everyone, make sure to tune into that for more on this Eagles. Oh wait, it's actually Thanksgiving. I forgot about that.
Oh, I don't know if they're doing their show.
Yeah,
I
no, I don't
Have
think they
no
are.
idea.
Yeah, maybe they're doing
Maybe
it
they're doing a
Wednesday
Thanksgiving watch
or
along.
or
I don't know.
Friday, or maybe they're taking a week off. I don't know. Check Twitter. We'll have it on our
yeah.
page. They'll definitely
Yep.
have it on their
Yep.
page.
Yep.
As far as the Basement Podcast, but as far as the Undercovers cast, we're gonna be back next week,
Week
same
Monday.
time. Yeah,
Yep.
Monday, and catch us in the Twitter Spaces as always.
Yep.
And go Bills.
Go
Go
Bills.
Bills.
All right.